Okay, we are live at 11:05 on BC. This is Trinity Street Rods, and today we titled it. I think what did we title it? Who's your master? Who's your master? And I'm an old. I believe in the trades, big time. And you're an apprentice, then you're a journeyman, and then you become a master. And you don't get to be a master until you've mastered the craft. But above and beyond that, you need to have the ability to teach, because how's the craft get passed on unless somebody can teach it to the next generation, that the apprentices coming up. And I started as a painter, and it would have been a long time ago, back in 73, I think. And I apprenticed under a painter. It was at a Buick dealership, and he was a good painter, and that's all he did. He was a painter. He wasn't a body man. And it was 6 months before I even got to pick up the primer gun. And he had his way of doing things, and it better be his way. And to this day, if I mask an entire car, depending on how you mask it, if you overlap the tape just right, you just take the tape in one corner and you pull the entire thing off and all the tape comes off. But if you overlap it backwards and this way and that, you can take the tape and pull it and it comes off. You got to start it and pull it again. You got to do that. I learned early. It better be the right way. He was the master and I was the apprentice. I learned under him, and I learned his way of doing things. That wasn't the only way. I'm sure other painters did it different ways. Other painters may have, I don't know, taken a whole sheet of paper and cut it out, or whatever ways you did it, or used, there was newspaper back in the day. I mean, and you could mask your car with newspaper, and a lot of people got good at it. Maybe that was how you learned how to do it, and you just like, that's the way we do it, and we don't change. What gave us a huge advantage in this company, I've been on the internet since '94. My email address I've had since '94. Even though the first 6 months or so, the way I answered email, they would give me my email on a piece of paper. I would read it, I would answer it, and then I would give it back. And I'm not making that story up. I just knew how important it was. But some of our competition really didn't think it was internet. This internet thing is, they spent their time and their effort taking pallets of catalogs to the shows, passing out catalogs. So that gave us an advantage where there was none, because that's the way they did it. I mean, it just worked that way, so they don't change. So bottom line, who's your master? And it's, in this business, we're building hot rod cars, so there's a lot of different aspects to it. There's fabrication, there's body work, there's assembly, there's paint, there's mechanic work, there's upholstery, there's just a lot of different detail. I mean, detailing is a craft in itself. And some people are good at multiple crafts. Some people are, they're a painter. They're a painter, and that's all. Sometimes an assembler just can't cross over to be a fabricator. Whichever it is, it doesn't matter. Generally, I'm at least at the role here as I'm the master. I'm the master, and even to the point of whether I want to or not, I make decisions that affect people's lives, having been an employer for years and years. It's like, here's the game, here's the rules, we play by the rules, and here's how the rules go. So this is David's car, and I had some people come in that's supposed to know what they were doing, run all the brake lines, and okay, the brake lines are done, so now it's in the hot spot. We're in the hot rod hot spot. We're focusing here. And I did not go over the whole, while they were putting the brake lines in, they were on. They look like they're on. So when we're bleeding them here, we had leaks. And I had a couple leaks, so we're working, then pull one apart, and the brake lines were not double flared. I'm assuming that person didn't know, that should have known, that said I can do brake lines. But you have got to, I don't know if this is even, I don't know if you're going to be able to show this, but this is sort of a double flare. Not really acceptable. This is not even close. So I'm working with David now, and he's a mechanic and a good one and knows it, but he's not done this kind of stuff before. So we're pulling this apart, and he's not. This is a flaring tool, and it's not just a flaring tool; it's a double flare. You can see. First, you got to do it with this. Well, it's a smaller one than this, but you put your brake lines in, and when you smash it, this goes into the brake line, and it smashes a bulb around it. Once the bulb is smashed around it, then you have to take it out, and then you smash a flat spot onto it. So if I was just going to flare it, this is all I would do. I would smash a flat spot. But since I need to double flare it, you can see this pin will go in the hole, and this is the pin will go in the hole. This is the wrong size for that, but it will smash a bulb around it, and then it smashes it onto the fitting. You need to make sure it goes into the right kind of fitting. You're not just using a pipe fitting that it's going to go through. It's got to go into a fitting that's going to seal against that. Well, there's just a lot to it, and it takes somebody who's done it before, who's learned from somebody. I mean, all the way down to the point somebody had to figure out how to make the tool to make it work. So my role here is not to criticize. And then we had watching yesterday's video, and I'm glad for it. Somebody pointed out on one of the bottom of the headlight stanchion over there, one of the bolts is in a little bit farther than the other. We need to fix that. First time the person that put these headlight stanchions down ever did that, I explained how to do it. Do this, do that, put it here, make sure. If you do a scuff it, we got to wet sand it and buff it and make it right. We don't do good enough, do we, Gilligan? What do we got good enough going on?
Straight rods.
Okay, so we got us a thumbnail, and we didn't get the thumbnail we wanted, and we got David leaving the thing. So if you looked at the thumbnail watching this going in, we got somebody leaving like this. Well, yeah. I was like, what is that? That's not what we want. What did you tell me?
I ain't in it.
What did you tell me?
I ain't in it.
I heard, I'll probably never hear this again, will I?
No.
Okay. I heard, well, that's good enough. Now, I wouldn't mind, and I wouldn't even push it, except Gilligan's going to take my job. He's going to replace me someday. So if you work for me, I am probably not the easiest guy to work with or for, unless I'm the master. You're the apprentice. We will work together, we will move ahead. But there are certain things I don't need to relearn. I don't need to relearn that the brake lines have to be double flared and they have to look a certain way, and you can't have a crack on the edge or what have you. I know that if it's not proper, that it could leak, and then it even worse than that, it could possibly fail. And I didn't learn that just because, I woke up one morning and you know, I know how to do it. A lot of folks are you're buying a car, you're buying a kit, you're doing, and that's one of the main reasons we're doing these videos. Is honestly, we say we don't build cars, we build dreams. We're putting together a car, and first and foremost, we've got to build a safe car. That's the thing. But aesthetics is really important for hot rods. Clean is good. Clean is simple is great for hot rodding. But as we train a team, man, my favorite thing to do is train a team, and y'all are like a giant. I go to the Spirit Cars, Spirit Owners and Builders page on Facebook. It's like my favorite place. There's guys that have never thought in their life that they could build a car, and they've accomplished it. And they've asked questions, they've done, and this isn't about, you screwed up, you suck. No, that's one way to teach, I suppose, or that's one way to think you're better than somebody else. But if you know the difference, and the teaching style is different for all of us. Gilligan, I hope you understand and like my teaching style, because he's sweeping the floors, and he's kind of pouty face. He wants to work on cars, but you've been sweeping the floors for a while now. You did get to work on a car yesterday for a little while, right? Was it exciting?
Yeah.
Yeah, I made him go underneath the car and drill, so all the dust was going on his head. But I'm from Chicago area. I guarantee, when you're up there way back in the day and the bumpers were real, and you're working in a body shop and you had to take a bumper off, don't bother to get a wrench, because it ain't going to happen. They're so rusted and on, you might as well get a torch to start with. Guess who got the job of taking bumpers apart and putting bumpers together? Guess who gets the job of, you got to pay your dues. That's part of learning the craft, learning the trade. And I've never went to college, never been in a fraternity or whatever, but part of that game is you got to show that your loyalty to whatever it is. So there's got to be a loyalty to learning any craft, any skill, and it's across the board. You've got to focus and be attention, and you've got to have a master that's teaching you. And it doesn't have to be just necessarily a one-on-one in an environment like this that you're going to progress to the point where you ultimately, that is your craft and that's what you do and that's what you know. But you do need to learn from somebody that's been there and done that. And the internet's been really good for showing a lot of different things, but like I tell my grandkids, don't believe anything that you hear, read, or see. Do your own research. And then the best way to do is, if you got some hot rod buddies, get together, come to a consensus. If somebody's done it before, they can share an idea. If you got a motor guy there, he knows more about the motor than he does painting probably. Then you got a paint guy. Everybody can come together. It's a group effort to build a car. Even if you do it all yourself, you have to bring a lot of skills together to get it done. So I didn't tell much about anything specific other than brake lines. You need to double flare it. Are you going to remember that if we ever do brake lines? I get one of these going on. And then will it ever be good enough? It's never good enough, because we can't hit perfect, but we need to get to a certain level. If you're a journeyman, there's a certain level of quality that has to happen. That's just the end of the story. And then your skill level lets you produce that in a time frame that qualifies for you're a professional. There are some incredible home builds being done. Incredible, beautiful cars, top quality, awesome. Usually the main difference is that it'd be tough to make a living doing that because it takes you a little while. You're learning some of the skills that you've never done before, and just the time frames that you're set to get it done aren't the same as, we got to get this thing done. No messing around. We can't cut corners, but we got to get it moving forward. So anyway, kind of a brief one. Yesterday morning, I was really expecting to talk about putting that body on and running wires and seeing the wires come and going and doing. And I mean, that was my expectation yesterday morning. But as I come into it, and I'm putting my eyes on it now. I'm not doing every aspect of it, but I'm going through it as it's done, and I'm asking questions. Is that tight? Is that? Is this here? And the more people you have do that, the better. And I do appreciate one of my great fans. I'm good. See, the one thing I'm good at is people either really like me or they really don't. And maybe that has something to do with trigger time. So why don't we just go there? And we do appreciate all the comments. If you see us doing something wrong, tell us about it. I mean, we don't want to do it wrong. If someone has scratched something and it was under here, I didn't see it, well, yeah, we're going to fix that. So anyway, we'll get that done. And right now, since we're doing trigger time, I think this one kind of applies. Well, I'm in Matthew chapter 6. I love Matthew. I've always loved Matthew. Matthew's just like a hardcore, here it is kind of a book. But it's Matthew chapter 6, verse 24. It says, no one can serve two masters, for either he will hate the one and love the other, or he will be devoted to the one and despise the other. You cannot serve God and mammon. You gotta make a choice. There's choices to be made in life. And you don't get to serve two masters, because I assure you, I don't have tolerance for one of my disciples, and disciple just means student of the teacher, to contradict me, to go against me, to undermine me, to just, the things I've learned by experience, the things I know because I know, I'm sharing because I have a hope that my student can excel past me. And as a disciple of Christ, I already know I can't excel. I mean, who can know the mind of God? But when you sit at the foot of Christ, we are not our own. We are slaves, bought and paid for. We are owned by the Master, and we have a good Master who's given us a light burden, and not just made us a slave, but he's brought us into the family by adoption, and we are now sons of the living God, which is awesome. But I'm going to go past here a little bit, because in these times, it's easy to be freaking out in these times. And how about them debates? Is there not a division? There is a division. It's civil war going on in this country below and not even below the surface. It's open in the streets in a lot of places. So a lot of us are just freaking out. Oh, I got to have my mask, or I got to do this, or I'm going to die, or I'm going to this or that, or well, financial or whatever. Just after the Master thing, the 25th chapter. Therefore, I tell you, do not be anxious about your life, what you shall eat or what you shall drink, nor about your body, what you should put on. Is not life more than food, and the body more than clothing? Look at the birds of the air. They neither sow nor reap nor gather into the barns, and yet your heavenly Father feeds them. Are you not of more value than they? And which of you, by being anxious, can add 1 cubit to the span of his life? And why are you anxious about your clothing? Consider the lilies of the field, how they grow, and they neither toil nor spin. Yet I tell you, even Solomon, all his glory, was not arrayed like one of these. But if God so clothes the grass of the field, which today is alive and tomorrow is thrown into the oven, will he not much more clothe you, O men of little faith? And no, I'm going to finish it. Therefore, do not be anxious, saying, what shall we eat, or what shall we drink, or what shall we wear? For the Gentiles seek all these things, and your heavenly Father knows what you need, that you need them all. But seek first his kingdom and his righteousness, and all these things shall be yours as well. Therefore, do not be anxious about tomorrow, for tomorrow will have its anxiety for itself. Let the day's own trouble be sufficient for the day. So the trouble for today is we got to deal with some brake lines that weren't right. We're going to fix them, get through that. Tomorrow we're going to get the body on. Hopefully the body's on later on today. We're going to start wiring, and hopefully we don't find problems in that. But there's always going to be issues in life. Just, this is the day the Lord has made. Let's rejoice and be happy in it. And until tomorrow, God bless you.